Hey, welcome to the Catholic Coaching Podcast. We're excited about a special guest that we brought on here today, Miss Megan Mohan.
Yes, Megan is a graduate of our Purgative Way coach training program, and we're going to be talking about that, and we're going to be talking about her life and all the things. So you have to stick around and listen.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So fun.
Fun conversation. Thanks so much, Megan. We'll see you guys in the podcast.
Hi, guys.
Hey, we are in borrowed space. Kind of one of the things that we're been growing accustomed to, actually, as we've been begging, borrowing, borderline stealing space. But thank you very much to Father Rick over at AMU for allowing us to film in his office. I think you know that we're doing this.
It's so nice, though, to have it in a priest's office. Do you know how many times I want to go into the space and just put exercise salt everywhere? And I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. Are the demons in this place going to absorb all
Aaron
of our
always
sound?
goes to demons.
Yes, well.
It feels very Franciscan in here, though.
Yes.
So I kind of want to wear a brown robe.
We feel at home.
Yeah, and Birkenstocks.
And speaking of Franciscan, we have a special guest for you today. A friend of ours. We actually jokingly call her the co-founder of Metanoia Catholic because she was there when we actually came up with the name. Remember?
It was on your wedding day, the day that Aaron
it wasn't
infamously got gout. Oh, no, what?
It was the practice run with her hair. Okay.
Yes.
I know we've shared this with you guys, but I do hair, or I used to do hair on the side. So I was doing the lovely Megan Mohan, used to previously be known as Megan Mastriani. I was doing her practice run, and we came up with the name of Metanoia Catholic, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
So a little bit about Megan. She is a dear friend. She is, I think, one of the most likable people on earth. I can't think of one person who goes, yeah, I don't like Megan. Or like, it's just
like, well, then I
everybody
don't like
goes,
you.
oh yeah, I know Megan and I love her. That's like the response to it. So she's very, very likable. But Megan actually graduated from Franciscan. She was a household sister of mine. We were never there at the same time, but we feel like two peas in a pod a lot of times. We came from the same place in New York. And she just recently became a Catholic coach. She went through her Purgative Way training. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But also Megan, if you guys are not familiar with her, she's a wonderful Catholic speaker. And on the Steubenville speaking circuit. And worked in ministry for years. And just recently got married and had a
Worked
little
in
one.
diocese. Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So here she is.
Let's bring her on. Megan, you are almost on camera. You're on camera. Hey, Megan.
Hey guys,
How's it going?
This is great.
I feel great. My affirmation cup is full. I can tell my husband he's good. It's good for a few weeks.
Cool. Oh, very good.
So Megan, can you? I would love for you to just start by saying, I don't know, just telling us how you went, how you were led to our Purgative Way training, and really what brought you there. Like, have you always wanted to be a coach, or tell us that scenario?
Yeah. So as Aaron mentioned, as you mentioned, Aaron, I was getting my hair done, practice run, and it's so God, like his timing and his sense of humor is ridiculous. I mean, that's like such a cliche thing to say, but it really, because it's true. I mean, I was getting my hair done for my wedding, but I didn't even care. It's like, these people are like, we're speaking the same language, and what you guys, were discovering through your own journey and the process of, starting Metanoia, it was so intriguing to me. And, I had always been drawn to renewal. I'd always something I learned from you guys, actually, be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. Well, perfect means whole. And I've always been drawn to our wholeness, our redemption, the renewal of our wounds, our past. And I didn't always have the language for it. Like I studied psychology at Franciscan, was going to go to graduate school. And I think every few years I would apply and I'd get in. And I never ended up going because I always felt the Lord was calling me to stay in ministry. Mostly I did campus ministry in an all-girls high school. But even there, like even at that ministry or my ministry in Philadelphia, I was always drawn to, our woundedness and the Jesus, the healer, Jesus, the resurrector, and would find ways to grow in deeper knowledge and of that, and read books and go to trainings and retreats and anything I could get into to like dive deeper into that. And I was really, I guess, totally set on fire by the two ministries, one actually here in Philadelphia, Unbound ministry, and Dr. Bob Schutz's ministry, if you want to call it ministry, of his healing ministry. So I was like, all right, I need to become a pro at this. Like, so let's go. Let's get trained in how to do Unbound. Let's get trained. Let's do all the things we can do to grow in understanding and, become, I love the term Henry Nouwen. It might be St. Thomas Aquinas that coined the term, but Henry Nouwen adopted it, and he wrote a book called The Wounded Healer. And I just was so drawn to that. Like, if I'm going to be in ministry, I want to be Jesus. I want to be like Jesus, because that's obviously the best way to do it. And, obviously he's so good because I'm very weak. He's very merciful and generous. So I became, I guess, trained in that. And then the Healing, Be Healed book that Bob Schutz wrote, Dr. Bob, anything that he had, I would just kind of soak up. And I started doing these trainings on his healing ministry at my job in Philadelphia. And it gave me life. It gave me the most life. I was the most drawn to it. So when I was getting my hair done, my wedding 3 years ago, for the trial run, and you guys are talking to me about talking to me about metanoia, and what your dream was in starting this. It was like a light bulb went off. Like, this is the missing piece, because I have done Unbound. I've prayed with people in Unbound. I believe in it. I think it's incredible. It's a tool we need. I have given trainings on healing, understanding like the trajectory of a wound, and vows, inner belief systems that we have. And I love it. I'm sold out for it. But those two, it was like there was something missing for me in how to make it practical and how to live it out and how to walk in the truth, walk in the redemption that God has won for us. And so Aaron, I mean, as you know, I just stayed in conversation with you, and thank you so much for like reaching out to me and kind of keeping me abreast of like where you guys were at in metanoia. And up until I became more aware of my own thoughts, I was kind of notorious for dragging out discernment. Like, I gotta really think and mull things over. And part of that's a personality thing, so it's not like a bad thing. But anyway, with metanoia, it was like, we're doing this purgative way. I was like, no, I'm in. I don't need to pray about it. Like, the Lord is giving me peace right now. We're doing it. Because it really was like the missing link in taking something so supremely like up here, like the ontological man, St. Thomas Aquinas, and making it like so practical. And I think, as St. Therese would say, like, I'm little. Like, I don't have the mind to like naturally break open St. Thomas Aquinas and like understand it. The little way is like, I'm just gonna be open and say yes and trust. And this is really like, God, you do all the heavy lifting. This is easy. I mean, I can do this,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear your
So,
passion in all of it, Megan.
Yeah.
Like I think of our unique Call to Sanctity workshop that we have, where you're diving into the gifts and the mission field that you feel called to, but also like your passion and everything that you were describing about the investing in the time and and financially even of learning Unbound or taking Dr. Bob Schutt's healing courses and just giving your time, reading the books. Like those are things that passionate people do. I mean, passion means like when you're passionate about something, it means you're willing to suffer for that or invest resources, your time, your finances, your energy, your focus into those things. And so like we see, I'm hearing in your story, like this background of just like being passionate about learning like what drives a human person, what makes a human person tick, like what does healing really look like? What does it mean to live in the redemption? And I think a lot of people that are kind of sitting here could probably identify with that because we tend to attract a lot of people that are in that sort of, they're passionate about self-development. They're passionate about learning what does it mean to be human, right? That's one of the foundational questions John Paul II asked in the Theology of the Body. What does it mean to be human? Then based on that, how do we live a life that brings about true happiness?
Yeah. You said something that like a lot of people say. They say it's the missing piece.
Yes. Missing link seems a little bit Darwinian, right? But the missing piece, like this is like there's a missing aspect. Can you define a little bit more what that missing piece was?
Yeah. So one of the things with, I think the similarity with Unbound and Dr. Bob Schutt's Be Healed, his ministry, was kind of giving this layout of, God has a plan for our life. Satan has a plan for our life. So kind of like getting a good idea of like, okay, I'm on this journey. I'm not immune to either of those things. I'm called to live in life with, in God's will. And Bob Schutt's kind of brings in this element of like, well, along the way, we've been wounded because we're human and we're around other humans. And so that's something to just kind of accept and not, necessarily lose sleep over, just accept it as it's part of our human experience. And so he gives such a good layout to me. I mean, so many light bulbs went off of, the trajectory of a wound or like our he goes over the 7 deadly wounds.
His anatomy of a wound. Yeah.
So
good. Yes, it's so good. And identifying like, I relate to this, like the wound of abandonment. The belief system would be, for example, I'm alone. And a vow you might make from that, just another example is, I will always be alone. So a sin that tends to that you tend to maybe fall into is pride. Well, I have to be accomplished and, I have to take care of myself. Anyway, he lays out this kind of like map, right? With the purgative way, with metanoia in general. I mean, one of the first conversations I had with you, Aaron, I remember you just being like, listen, we have 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day. This is a big battlefield. This is a big deal. Like, so out of this, all of the, like, the canvas that I was looking at of, trying to understand, what does it mean to be human? It was like this, taking a microscope or even just focusing on this one aspect of our mind and our thoughts. So I would pray with people for Unbound, great fruitfulness, like healing. I mean, walls being, broken down. The Lord is so, obviously you give him an inch, he'll take a mile. Like he wants us to be his own and to be healed. But you follow up with them a week later and it's like, wow, I'm still falling into this thing or this belief system because like one of the first conversations we have, I mean, our minds, these neural pathways are there in our minds that I am alone. And that vow is I will always be alone. Like,
it's now, literally the voice of your flesh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yes. And so going back to that, and and reasoning through it, having the tools to reason through these lies, to reason through these thoughts, and to have the choice to say, oh, that's gross. I don't like that thought. I can choose another thought. I mean, that's an oversimplification of like so much of what I learned in the purgative way. And then you're giving these people, and I'm looking even at my own journey, I gave myself this, I'm taking back the authority that God has given me in my baptism. Mm-hmm. I am dignifying myself, my humanity, by saying I don't need to just be a slave to these old thoughts. Oh, well, they're just my intrusive thoughts. You know, that's where psychology falls short. At least psychology that's not seeing it through the lens of John Paul II's, personalism. Mm-hmm. You know, well, you have to cope with that. No. The Lord wants to redeem it, and he wants to give a new truth. So you guys, I think the missing piece, and my husband described it to me this morning, so I was kind of like trying to explain, or trying to just process, like there's so much I could say, you know? He's like, it wasn't really just the missing piece for you, Megan. It's like you had all the parts to the car, and this was the engine that made the car go. That's like, oh, now I am taking authority back, and I am choosing to walk in the truth that Christ wants me to walk in. And I'm walking in the redemption now. So I have the theories. I get it. Okay, this is where my wound came from. Okay, I know sometimes I need to go back to that and maybe forgive the person, or, I have all these tools, but I'm going now. I'm like flying.
Yeah, there's something very empowering about it. And Aaron, I think back to really going back to the beginning where you were seeing somebody that was a counselor in Unbound. Mm-hmm. And we were just getting our journal going at that point. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you identified was like, because you were an Unbound practitioner trained as well, and you were taking people through, the 5 keys, and what happened was the journal work was identifying, bringing to the surface a lot of those lies that you spent a lot of your time just trying to figure out the lies. Yeah. But it was just kind of like churning that interior soil. So you're like, I've identified a weed. And then you're showing up and you've already done a whole lot of work tilling that soil, identifying those weeds, so you can present them through those tools, the 5 keys of Unbound, to really renounce and step into that authority of our baptism, like you said, Megan. And it was just, you saw it as a great compliment. I don't want to take your words from you.
Oh, yeah. No, it definitely laid the groundwork. And it was like what you've been saying is it's just daily and applicable. Like it's just, that is the turning the soil. And then you can start to pull up those weeds a little bit more because you've loosened that soil. You've gone in and you've done that work. And the Lord, I will tell you, when you do this work, the Lord will bless it. When he's like, oh, they're acting on this, they're actually doing it. And I love how you actually talked about how it moved you into action, because that's a lot of distinction that we always talk about. The distinction between counseling and coaching is coaching moves people into action too. That's another piece of the puzzle.
Oh my gosh, I've seen it in my own life. I see it with one client I'm working with right now. And I think I reached out to you, Aaron, because I was a little intimidated by this one client. I was like, I don't know if I have what it takes. I had to journal through that. I had to work through that myself. She had been through all of this therapy. And thank God for that therapy, because it helps her through the trauma. Something I do not have the jurisdiction to do. I don't have the training to do. But she was ready for coaching, and what is happening in coaching it's just incredible. I mean, they're complementary. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yes. Complementary.
And I even was talking to a Catholic therapist a few weeks ago, and she was like, maybe, I'll start referring people to you after the therapy. I was like, yeah, I think that makes sense.
I always kind of talk about the imagery of somebody standing in like a jail cell, and they have all these shackles that are broken off from them. this is after having worked with a Catholic therapist, but they're just kind of standing in the pile of shackles. Even though they're not shackled anymore, they are healed, or they're kind of set free. But I see the coach coming into the cell and being like, come on, let's go. Step out of that. Let's go.
Absolutely. That is such a good image. I see it. Yeah. And like I said, in my own journey, I've been through spiritual direction. I've been through therapy 3 separate times, you know, and again, thank God they have their place. Thank God. I'm so grateful. And maybe I'll go back one day. Who knows? Probably. But when I started getting coached, oh my gosh, I was still falling back into patterns. Colin, my husband, says it like saved our marriage. I mean, not that we were in like, that's kind of dramatic.
Let's go with it, Megan.
Yeah. Let's follow that thread. Why? We're going to start coaching you right now.
We're putting a quote out on Instagram.
I was like,
saved Megan Mohan's marriage.
Yeah.
That's our new post.
End up, like, crying in this podcast. No, I mean, it was, I had so many commitment issues. In dating. I was terrified of committing to marriage, and through the gifts, the tools, I went through all of it. Unbound, Be Healed, therapy, spiritual direction. I was doing all the things, and they were helping me. They were tilling the soil, like you said, Erin. They were breaking off the shackles. I was identifying, the vow I made that I will never get married as a kid. Okay. Thank you, Lord, for revealing that. I can do some forgiveness. I can renounce some things that do not belong here. But it was not until coaching that I truly have been like free from staying in that prison and looking at the shackles and saying, oh, well, I guess I know what that feels like to live in that. I should probably just put that on. It's a little more comfortable for me. This is my identity. This is how I think. This is just who I am. You know, this is just my cross in life. I'm just going to have this cross of fear of commitment. Like, that's not the gospel. Yeah.
So the coaching picked up and it like, what did it actually do for you, Megan, that wasn't being, in your opinion, accomplished in some of these other sources of encouragement that you're going to?
That's a great question. I think, just to put it simply, it gave me the freedom to choose different thoughts. And I had to work through that. I wrestled through that a little bit initially. Erin, you worked with me a lot in kind of understanding, again, the knowledge of the ontological man. You help break things down, that this is not just something you're making up. Like, we're just making up this idea that, you know, hey, wouldn't it be nice to choose another thought? It's not Catholic to think we can't choose our thoughts. I mean, this is deeply human. This is part of our identity, and this is part of our power given to us, through our mind, through God, how God created us. So I think just saying, I don't have to choose the thought that I made the wrong decision by marrying my husband. Because that thought's really destructive, and it doesn't accomplish what my desires are. But I was thinking I had to be passively, like, going through, and this is actually something to do with my niche, which I can talk about if you want on this podcast. Do it. With relationship anxiety, but I'll put that to the side. I just kind of had this mentality, this belief system that, like, it had to happen to me, that I don't have any authority. Like, love just has to be so easy that I don't really have to think about it. I don't have to choose any good thoughts. It's supposed to, like, click all the time, you know? Again, that's coming from a place of fear and woundedness. And yeah, when I was presented with this option, like, God, what is the tone that God would, is this the tone of the Lord or the enemy?
Yes.
You chose the wrong thing. Like really dissecting the thought, interrogating the thought, which is a tool you guys gave us. I'm still constantly working on that in my own self, in my own coaching, interrogating the thought. And once you interrogate the thought, like you guys say, you kind of neutralize it. You're like you're separating your emotions from it, and you're looking at it more objectively. Like, oh, what are you doing here? Okay. I don't like you. You're no fun.
Yeah.
You're producing no fruit at all. So I'm gonna shift my mind. And it's really that simple. I just started choosing thoughts that I believed about my marriage and about my husband that were way more exciting, way more fun, just good, plain old good. And it's now at this point, I mean, I'm not immune. I know there's constant growth, but I can tell you easily, like my mind has been changed. Like my neural pathways have changed, and I don't have to think about it anymore. I go back to those old thoughts. They're gone.
Yeah, I hear the freedom that's in that.
I think something that you said, I think is really key, and I want to just focus on it for a second, because I think a lot of Catholics who have been into the healing ministry and everything like that may have fallen into. I know I have. But the aspect of there is an element of receptivity when it comes to healing, 100%. Obviously, we know we are weak. He is strong. And so we have to receive that grace. But then I think what a lot of people forget, or maybe what we're uncovering in our own coaching and learning in this realm, is there is an active part of healing as well.
Yeah.
And actively working on our thoughts, because Matt was saying, or those neural pathways, or you were saying, Megan, those neural pathways are still ingrained in our mind.
Yeah.
And, you think of that one belief system, that deeply rooted belief system. Think of it as a tree and all of the branches and then all the roots underneath it, right? And it's like those are all the neural pathways. And so this daily, I don't want to say that it's exhausting. It's kind of like when Jesus says to people, go and be healed. He
live in it.
Like
choose it.
Choose it daily. And
be
I think
in it. Yes.
I think that's kind of just to, I guess, to bring back what you were just saying. I think there is so much of this is we are not living in our free will choice. Like we're just not. We're not utilizing that gift that you were saying, that of our intellect and our will and how they work together.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think there's an active participation of deeper healing.
And it should be like that. We actually have to will it. I mean, that's what I'm hearing you say, Aaron.
Yes.
It's like at some point it needs to be willed. It needs to be freely chosen, despite the fact that we have default thinking that's guiding us down towards, like the dog that returns to his own vomit, as we hear in scriptures. Like there's that default thinking that's still inclining us towards this way. Well, that's just our flesh patterns. That's literally the synaptic connections that have been ingrained in our head and that need to be purged. There's actually a thing called neuro pruning, and it comes from choosing not to engage those neural pathways again, but rather go down other routes. Even with healing and OCD, people that have obsessive compulsive disorder, the reason why they have to do those things is because they literally lack other branch pathways coming off of that neuron. And so what they start to introduce to weaken that is this kind of some new thoughts or some new habits. If you're all of a sudden your hand's got to fly in the air all the time, introduce a new habit of like putting your hand over your arm when you feel inclined to do that. And literally what that does is it starts to create new branch patterns. And there's only so much of that neurogrowth factor on that neuron to really go down and dedicate to holding on to one of those synapses. And so it starts to rob it from other things. And eventually there's that neuro pruning that happens when you choose the new thought versus the old thought, which may look like having to renounce it again and again when it pops up into your mind by default, renouncing it in the name of Jesus, or just saying, I see what you are, and just like, I'm choosing not to engage you, or rather, I'm going to go back to this. Literally, folks, by willing that, you are changing your flesh. You're like, not you, but like it takes grace, God's grace, but you're participating in God's grace. You're willing the participation in God's grace, and it transforms you literally, not just on a spiritual level, but on a physical level. And wouldn't that be appropriate, given that we are psycho-spiritual, human beings
Yes.
with this body, right? That we are healed both, not just in our non-immaterial soul, but like in our material soul as well.
And one point too that I want, before I'm going to ask you your next question, but I want to make this because this is my favorite part about coaching, and I think you touched on this, Megan. Giving people the hope. So let's just say they go and they receive a lot of healing through maybe an Unbound session or taking them through the wounds of Dr. Bob Schutt's work. When an old thought comes back, a lot of people will tell themselves, I must not be healed.
Yes.
And the daily work, the hope that we give them is like, no. That's just an old wired pathway. That's going to come back. But here's what you can do when that comes up.
Yes. And I think what you guys have done so well is you have made it, you've given tools, and I learned this in the journal and in Purgative Way, in my own being coached and self-coaching, is you've given the tools to do it it's very simple. It's hard work, but it's not complicated. I think that's what I was trying to say before with like Saint Therese was like, she always had this disposition of like, God, you're doing the heavy lifting. Like, and I'm just little, and I'm going to say, yes. Did she suffer? Was it hard? Yes. But it wasn't, she didn't take on more labor upon herself.
Yeah.
But she had the commitment and she showed up. And I think, you kind of said, Aaron, too, like it can be exhausting. It is, I always think, and Lord help me, I think I make my life more functional by self-reliance. I think I make my life more functional by not letting him into the crap, or by not exposing my heart, or not giving him time. I think I make my life more functional by saying, well, this is just how it's always been done. This is how I am. And that's way more exhausting. Like my soul is crushed when I think I can do it on my own. And so this exhaustion, it's like a good workout.
Yeah.
It's different than the sloth exhaustion that just fall into like a black hole of oblivion and there's no, motivation or anything like that. So I definitely think this kind of exhaustion is way more exhilarating, like the endorphins and the adrenaline and the grace that's there.
So much grace.
Yeah, it's like lifting one weight one time and be like, I'm fit,
Yeah.
But yeah, the going back to the growing in the virtue, the growing in the resilience, even that's all a part of the plan. So what were some of the most valuable lessons that you learned in the coach training?
Gosh, how do I think the most valuable lesson I learned, and I'm still learning, and I will still go back and listen to this lesson, is the first lesson. It's like not even a lesson. It's like the introduction of the ontological man and how that plays a part in all of the practical lessons that you have in coaching. So I'm trying to just grow so deep in that knowledge of, I think the way you guys put it, the ontological man is the layout of the soul. So it sounds supremely impractical, but it's not. It's really an understanding of how our minds work, how our souls work,
and how they heal,
and how we heal. Yeah. Yes, and how the empowerment it has given me over my humanity, over my, I can't make the excuse anymore. Well, I'm just an emotional person. I just am so, that's so dehumanizing to me. Like I have a reason and a will. And so I guess that's had such an impact on me, my own spiritual journey, my coaching. I think practically, or just more of like I guess, practical, there's so much. I think the interrogation of a thought has been really powerful for me.
Yeah. How come?
Because we can take that, kind of like what you're saying with the tree, and we're seeing, and there's this one client I have, and it is like, I just brought that image up to her. I mean, it's a common image, right? The image of a tree bearing bad fruit. And we're just watching it being pruned away. And the Lord's so gentle. He never goes in with like a, sledgehammer. And I don't even think that's what you use to weed out a good
A reaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sickle.
A sledgehammer. It's like, that's going to take a long time. Talking about not being practical. Lord, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously,
Not
you're a
the
farmer.
right tool.
Yes.
He's so gentle in like revealing, and it's a journey in self-awareness. It's a journey in our own redemption and kind of understanding where things are coming from and why. And but there's a few thoughts that she does not want to like let go of yet. And so the tool that you've given, and I'll go through and I'll listen. I'll say, oh, I should go at it from this angle, and I should ask these questions, because I think that would help her kind of put that separation a little bit more between her emotions and her thought. Like, okay, this is not desirable. So now she's getting to this point of saying, this is so undesirable. It's like sin. When you're really like, oh, this sin, even though I was attached to it and I loved it so much, I thought I loved it, whatever. I don't want it, because this is way more attractive. This is way more appealing to me. So that tool of interrogating a thought has been supremely life-changing. And in my own kind of what we've been saying of thinking, Aaron, when you said, when that thought comes back and we think, oh, we must not be healed. So there's those stubborn thoughts. They're like really like kind of
Incarnate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Literally incarnate.
Yes. It's so true. I mean, it's.
Yeah, we are incarnation machines. It's like words become flesh, and that's just how God designed us.
Yeah.
And you bring up the ontological man, and some people it's like maybe their brain shuts down when they hear that word ontological. I know mine kind of wants to go to sleep a little bit, because it kind of like it waxes of that deep philosophy that's there. But again, St. Thomas Aquinas, it's his philosophy of psychology where we're getting this ontological man, and we're also kind of leveraging what Father Chad Ripperger has revealed in his book on the psychology and the science of mental health, and Divine Mercy University also with their Catholic Christian meta model of the person, right, where they're breaking down the different components of the ontological man, which is really just picture it as a map of all the different faculties of our soul, of our mind, right? Our immaterial mind and our material mind, parts of our mind. And they have these different functions, and they break in different ways, and they thrive in different ways and under different conditions. And when you understand the map, like you understand, like really what the ontological man is in simple terms, it's God's design. It's the blueprint that he has given to us, and St. Thomas Aquinas in his wisdom has revealed to us in this. And all we're doing is we're just saying, like, okay, when we hear somebody, we're holding them up to that image in our mind, that map in our mind. It's like, okay, this part over here, this faculty seems like it's getting some damage over here, or this one might need a little bit of tweaking. And so that leads the question process or the reasoning process that we're guiding people through to kind of focus in that particular area. But it's so diagnostic from a coaching standpoint, which is where I find a whole lot of freedom to be able to, because a lot of time coaching is just like, ooh, where do I focus? It's like, no, we're like focusing on this particular area, and we're going to focus healing here, and we are knowingly not going to focus on this area over here, because this one really needs to be like, there's an order to the healing that has to happen as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and I really like how it's like even when those beliefs come back, I think a lot of people think that they have to keep going back to it, but I like diverting energy elsewhere, meaning like, okay, let's just that's going to keep coming back. Let's neutralize that. Like we just know it's kind of like that annoying little sister that just keeps coming back, right? So we're just going to be like, look at it this way. But let's look over here because what that is doing is actually changing our focus elsewhere.
Yeah.
And actually we're putting more, because what people would do is be like, oh, here it is back. I must not be healed. And then they keep focusing on that. They keep focusing on that. And they're standing in the shackles again. It's like, let's go over here.
Yeah, let's jumpstart reason.
Yeah.
Yep. And I do love that with coaching, the forward motion, that you're not just, like staring at the shackles of the past and just, oh, wow, look at that one and that one. It's like, okay, we have the power to move forward. That's what you said in the very beginning, action oriented. Also about the ontological man, I just want to clarify, I am not some Thomist. I'm so little. I'm so I just first started off this course. Actually, I remember having a conversation, I think it was with both of you, but being very intimidated by the ontological man and thinking, well, I don't know if I can do this because I don't understand this. It's just been me going back to it over and over again. And it's given me, like you said, Matt, like a really just good map, of seeing myself and seeing others for who they are, human.
If we don't have that right, if we don't have that map right, we can't coach people toward thriving. It just doesn't work. It won't work, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Somebody's calling us. It's the Holy Spirit.
Hey.
Do you hear that?
Yeah.
So
Father,
another
we will
thing,
not pick up your
Megan, I
phone.
want to ask you is, I know you've talked to a lot of people about purgatory. What are the characteristics of somebody that would make you want to bring it up to them? Like something that you see in them, or oh, you know what I should do is tell you about this coach training.
It's funny. I always it's like an intuitive thing. So I don't know if I've ever put words to it. Someone who has a hunger for a kind of what you said, Matt, self-development, even more than that, who wants to become, and again, I use this term, I just love it, who wants to be a wounded healer, who has a heart for Jesus, who has experienced his love and his power in their life, who wants more of that, who wants more healing, more self-awareness, someone who has a heart to help others maybe and wants to be in the ministry of seeing people come alive, seeing people come really ultimately, to know Jesus more and to know themselves more. And I would say that would be kind of, and it happens so naturally, because I get excited about this stuff, as you can see. So I start talking about it, have you heard of metanoia? And then it's just, kind of goes from there. But I think, just someone who wants to be resurrected, the story of Christ's resurrection. It's not just a story that happened 2,000 years ago that we celebrate, every Sunday and every Easter. It's our story. We are called to be resurrected. And someone who has that hunger, who's experienced it a little bit, I would definitely be like, you got to do this. You got to do Purgatory. It's just, it's like the engine. It's the engine. For me, at least it was.
Yeah, I like whenever I'm talking to somebody, because I think back to my story, and I think, Megan, you and I are similar in this way. I studied theology at Franciscan and then minored in psychology. And then I was like, what do I do with this? And I was like a youth minister. I was like terrible at administration and executing on things. So I was not that good at that. But I love that one-on-one. I used to get in trouble doing people's hair because I would just talk to people for too long, and I'd be like ministering to them in a secular salon. And I remember like discovering Catholic coaching. It really did not exist. Like we looked all over for it, and it was when the Lord was just like, nope, we want you guys to make it. And
like, and there's such a need for it because there's such a deficit in the pastoral capabilities of our priests right now. And I think that there's like, I don't know who said it, but I tend to agree with it. Like now is this time of the laity. And it doesn't mean that it's taking anything away from the priest.
Yeah,
Great. Yeah. I'd like to quote him rather than myself. But rather it's taking a look at what is the church that you want? Like what's the church that you really want to be a part of, that you want to contribute to? And is this an area, do you have that pastoral desire to really abide with people, not just in the healing of their wounds, which may mean that, hey, look at counseling, because that's really focusing with people in some of the unique things that you study that's working with people that are mentally ill. But do you have a desire to see people enter into thriving? Work with those people that are at baseline or above that aren't necessarily, counseling isn't necessarily a fit for them, but they want to get better. They want to grow in virtue. They want to step into that unique call to sanctity. They want to live out the life that God has predestined them to live out. And they want to maximize the amount of grace that they can achieve on this side of heaven. And literally become thy kingdom come, a vehicle for thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. That's the people that I want. I think we need them. I think we need them because we can't depend on the priest just to do this. And spiritual direction, that's not the goal in spiritual direction. It's not the goal in counseling. This is a new discipline. It's a new area. And I can tell you what, secular coaching scratches on the surface of it, but when they remove God from the equation, you remove the very agent of change from the equation, and something will fill that gap. And that something is the person, their own self-reliance. And that is a trajectory for despair and agony and bootstrapping and Pelagianism and building up a whole lot of vices. I'm sorry, I'm on my soapbox here, but I just can't, I can't fathom, if you're Catholic, why are you wasting your time in a secular coaching program? That's not bringing God in. That's not calling you to step into the authority of your baptism, to repent and renounce and forgive. That's not bringing the word into the mind, right? That's just saying, hey, you just figure out what a better thought is to think. Well, you're very ill-equipped to do that. You've already chosen a really crappy thought, which is why you're here in the first place. So really, we're going to go to you to pick the better thought? Or you're going to ask it of me, who's like so ill-equipped to tell you what you should be focusing on in your life? No, like this needs to be ultimately the trajectory to putting on the mind of Christ, which is going to require grace to do that. We are not able to assent to these beautiful teachings that have been fully revealed to us. Gaudium et Spes says this. God has fully revealed himself to man, but that takes grace to be able to assent to that revelation.
I can't imagine coaching without God. The best part of coaching is
getting coached while you're coaching,
Spirit revealing the truth. He is, like you said, the agent of change. I mean, he is the one. I just can't imagine how sad that would be. And I love, you guys have always said the goal, even like the goal of journaling, the goal of coaching, the goal is beatitude, because that's the ultimate goal, is supreme happiness with God forever. And that can only be attained through God, through virtue. And I love it, Matt. I was like, preach, brother, keep going.
Do it. Do it.
Megan, I'm dying to hear about your niche and how you picked it. And like, also, what's your favorite thing about coaching too? So can you answer those three?
So the niche, I've been sitting on this because
niche drama.
What's that?
Niche drama. It's a real thing, people.
Niche drama.
It's so real.
Put it in the sea line.
Yeah.
Yes, I was like back and forth. A lot of people that I've coached have been through word of mouth. I'm in the midst of being like way more proactive and aggressive. Aggressive might not have like the best feel to it, but
making offers.
yeah, making offers. But everyone I've coached so far has not had this kind of issue. So I'm like, well, maybe the Lord is directing me somewhere else. But I've become way more confident in wanting to coach people with relationship anxiety, struggle in, like I said, with my own story. I had I started dating my husband, and for the first time in my life, I felt so anxious, and I like knew right away. I was like, I'm pretty sure this man is the man I'm going to marry. Like I had a crush on him for like a long time, but the moment it became like a reality that I could marry him, so the anxiety was really triggering. It was God trying to get my attention and saying, "There's under there." And there's a lot of, I could go on about this for a long time, so I'll keep it super brief. But I think there's just a lot of false narratives and ideas out there about what relationships should feel like and what they should look like. And any sign of anxiety means you're supposed to leave. Doubt means don't. But if you look at the life of Christ and the little that we know about the journey of St. Joseph and the Blessed Mother and the Holy Family, I mean, and what we know about what marriage is supposed to, or what marriage is according to the Catholic faith, a lot of the things that we hear in the culture don't really match up. And so anyway, I was very anxious. I had to work through so much, and I find myself very naturally talking to people who are in relationships, who are afraid to commit. And I relate to the shackled, the shackles, the lies, the thoughts that kept me bound. And it's very exciting to me because thank you, Jesus, for my marriage and my husband and my family. I mean, it's the joy of my life. It is it's such a gift. And I'm madly in love with my husband.
He's a dashingly handsome man.
Yes.
Thank you.
Shout out to you, Colin.
Too. He's gonna love that. But yeah, I think that I've seen it as something that not just me, that I've got. That's not something that I've gone through. That's just very unique to me. That there's a lot of young people who are not committing, who are not getting married, who are not choosing love because we are in a wounded society with the wounds of marriage and relationships, what we've been modeled as kids. Of course that affects how we have made our decisions, our belief systems. And so yeah, relationship anxiety issues. That's my niche, whatever, however you want to say it.
Niche.
Where can people find
Target
you on that
market.
too?
Yeah,
There's probably people going like, yes, that's me. Yes, that's me. Oh my gosh,
Great.
that's me. Do you, men and women, do you coach?
What's that?
Do you coach men and women?
I haven't coached any men yet.
Are you open to it?
I'm absolutely open to it.
Nice.
100% open to it. Yes. So men and women, dating and married, even though I feel the Lord confirmed it. I will keep this very brief, with one of the Metanoia Academy coaching sessions, that even though I have so much to learn, I'm like this far into marriage, 2.5 years. So I don't have all the answers at all. I don't. But was coaching someone who had been married for 25 years. And it's just the truth. It's just identifying the truth. It's not any knowledge that I have from some wise old sage who's been married. But I think the Lord has given me a heart and an ability to see the lies that might actually hold someone bound in marriage. They've been married for a day or 25 years. Again, I at the end of the call, I was like, I could learn so much from you. you could coach me. You've been at this way longer than I have. But I am working on just a really simple, straightforward website that I can send to you guys, just with my contact information and scheduling information, so people can find me there. And
they like DM you on Instagram or something like that?
I've had some relationship drama with social media in my life. It has not served me well in my own personal journey, but I think the Lord is saying, Megan, it's okay. You can go out now on a different platform. So not yet. I'm not yet there with an Instagram account or Twitter or anything like that, but eventually. And that I'll put that on the website too. So the website will be there, and any social media platform outlet I'll put on there.
Do you have a URL for the website?
Not yet.
Go journal on that.
You're blowing it, Megan. We're teeing this up.
Do you have show notes?
Yes, we have show notes.
Figure it out.
Show notes up.
So Megan will figure out her URL in 24 hours. That is my assignment to her as her coach. So we can share it with you guys in the show notes. Megan, that is so cool. I was actually just thinking the other day, wouldn't it be cool to have a niche, have somebody coaching in this capacity to married couples who have, like, you know how like we would always say like dating potential? Like, oh, you're just dating potential. But I think that carries over into marriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
Absolutely. That was so eye-opening to me when I got married. I thought, well, when I get married, the old thoughts will just go away because I've made my commitment now. But it like you said, I mean, the mind finds a way to, it's so creative and it's so brilliant, our minds, that it will find a way to take the same like root and just, it's like saying something, it's saying the same thing. It just might sound different. You know?
Put a different spin on it. Yeah.
Different spin. Yeah.
Crazy minds, but when they're oriented on the right thing, and they lock onto virtuous thinking, that's where we actually become saints, which is amazing. So this has been awesome. Final
question. What would you say to somebody who's on the fence about joining the Purgative Way?
Trying to keep this brief. It's not one of my strong suits. Brevity. It not only has truly, I mean, it's not only transformed my own personal life, my journey, my marriage, my work, but it has been the key in my ministry in like helping people, you know, choose the truth, choose Christ. And I'm having a hard time putting this succinctly. I'm actually, someone who's on the fence, this is like the best, I have so much to say.
Go ahead. That's all right.
Usually these conversations are, you know, when someone's on the fence, I'm like, call me up, get a cup of coffee, and let's, you know, talk for like a half hour about this. I would ask them why they're on the fence, and then I would manipulate them into thinking that this is a good idea.
That's really ethical mindset coaching, by the way.
Right.
We manipulate people.
Manipulation.
Yeah. I honestly would I think I would just share like my own journey, kind of what I've been sharing with you guys, and saying that the Purgative Way is needed. It's so needed in ministry. There's like, I think God is building up soldiers. I mean, I guess that's the only way I could put it, in being agents, being missionaries in the field, really. And the Purgative Way it gives you a roadmap. I mean, it takes something so like what you would be intimidated by at first glance, the ontological man and, you know, the catechism, and it makes it so supremely practical in your own life and walking in the truth. Choosing the truth, walking in the truth. Do you want to get good at that? Do you want to get good at that in your own life? Mm-hmm. Do you want to be better in becoming the person you're created to be, and choosing the truth, and choosing, you know, to contemplate your dreams with God, and goal setting in your vocation? And if you want to get better at ministering to people, I mean, if I had this when I was in ministry, mm-hmm. it would have like transformed my ministry, mm-hmm. working one-on-one with people. Mm-hmm. So I don't really.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that answer. Thank you.
Okay, good.
That's good. That's good. Need go no further.
Like literally, if you want to be speechless when somebody asks you this question, you should just come and join us in Purgative Way, just like Megan was speechless. I love it.
Yeah.
That actually spoke. Exactly. Yeah, that spoke much louder than, you know, the silence.
Megan, this is awesome. We miss you. Thank you so much for coming on here today. And folks, if you want to learn a little bit more about Purgative Way, if you're hearing this live when it airs, we've got some webinars that are coming up. Go to CatholicCoaching.com. Check out Coach Training. All right, right there in the top menu, and then you'll be able to download our brochure. We have a webinar that's there for you to be able to watch and kind of learn a little bit more about this. But our next course is on March 27th. The deadline is March 18th for enrollment in that. And so if you're a current coach that's out there and you want to make your coaching Catholic, right, make sure that it's grounded in the teachings of the Catholic faith, and you can really feel like you're in integrity, fullness of integrity, showing up with your clients, this is a great option for you. If you're not a coach right now, but you have, like Megan was saying, this inclination to be serving the church in this capacity, come check it out. Go to CatholicCoaching.com, click and check out the coach training, and learn a little bit more about the program. We have people that are certified in other schools that come through the program. We have people that are brand new. If you come in and you're brand new, you will be coaching. You will be equipped to coach when you graduate from this, and especially with the drills that we've added in this last cohort. We're going to continue on. I've been floored by the qualification calls that we've been watching people in this last cohort, just the competency level and actual the skills, the confidence in the skills that they've developed over these last 4 months has been incredible to see. And I couldn't be prouder. Lord, all glory to God here with it, but really excited about it. So, Megan, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank
Megan.
you guys so much. You're great. All right.
Have a great day. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.